Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
Pop star Aaron Carter has at the age of 34.
Yeah, the troubled performer grew up in the limelight, but he was in and out of rehab several times in his short life.
Imagine this. One of pop culture's most controversial figures, possibly tied to a tragic loss that rocked fans worldwide. That's right. What if there's more to Aaron Carter's story than the headlines let on? In fact, recent rumors and intriguing connections are starting to paint an unsettling picture involving one of the most powerful moguls in the music industry, Diddy. If what's being whispered around is true, it could mean that Aaron's untimely passing wasn't just a coincidence, but a calculated act to silence him. And here's the twist. Federal investigators might be taking a much closer look at everything behind the scenes.
He hadn't seen him all day Friday and then decided she always gave him coffee in the morning, made coffee for him. So she went to his door, his bedroom door, and knocked on it, and then heard the dog in an extremely agitated state inside Aaron's bedroom. And that's when she decided she would open the door, and she discovered him. But it looks, Brad, like he had been for some time.
Now, let's rewind. Aaron Carter's story is no stranger to those who followed the pop scene in the early 2000s. He was the ultimate teen heartthrob, known for his bubbly personality, chart-topping songs, and being the younger sibling of Backstreet Boys' Nick Carter. But as the years went by, that charming kid grew up to face a mountain of struggles that would be tough for anyone, let alone someone living in the public eye. Aaron was open about it all too. His personal battles, his personal battles, his personal battles, his personal battles, his frustrations, and more recently, his fears. He was the kind of celebrity who didn't shy away from letting the world know his truth, however messy that might have been. But as it turns out, those truths he was sharing may have cut a little too close to the bone for some.
Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now, I think it really underscores the magnitude of what he's facing and the weight of the federal government.
You're absolutely right. And he had his mansions in Florida and California.
Flash forward to November 2022, and we get the tragic news that Aaron was found at his home. The initial report stated that he'd been discovered in his bathtub, with no clear answers as to what exactly happened. The real shock, though, came in the months that followed, as details slowly trickled in from authorities. The cause of his end wasn't officially concluded until April 2023, and when it was, it raised even more questions. The verdict, an accident, they claimed, something that came about due to drowning after inhaling a certain type of gas. But here's where it gets murky. Aaron's friends, family, and even fans weren't quick to accept that explanation, and for a good reason. It was clear that Aaron had been dealing with some intense struggles, but he had also been dropping hints about something far darker, something he believed was following him.
A U.S. judge has ruled that the rapper and producer Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial on federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges in May. He'll be held in prison until then. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges that he used his business empire to transport women and male sex workers across state lines to take part in recorded sexual performances. If convicted, he could face a life sentence.
Aaron had spoken to those close to him, even publicly, about fears that powerful people were, in his own words, out to get him. He wasn't vague about it either. He suggested that he knew things about certain individuals, things that weren't meant for public ears. One of those names he mentioned repeatedly was none other than Combs, also known as Diddy. The two might not seem like an obvious pair, but Aaron had been candid about his experiences in the industry, particularly the murkier side of fame. For Aaron, it wasn't just about dealing with his personal life under the spotlight. He felt he was entangled in a web far larger than anyone could see.
Understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on side watch.
Let's talk about that final cryptic tweet. Aaron reached out publicly to Ye, addressing him with a simple but intriguing message. Yeah, let's talk, man to man. Now, if you know Ye, you know he's no stranger to controversy and calling out the music industry himself. He's made bold claims, especially in the last few years, about the industry's darker elements, hinting that powerful individuals exert control over artists in ways that go far beyond what fans see on the surface. So why was Aaron trying to get Ye's attention right before he passed away? Some believe he was looking for an ally, someone who might understand the type of shadowy forces he felt were pressing down on him. And according to some speculations, he might have even had secrets he wanted to share with Ye, secrets he was afraid could be dangerous if shared with the wrong people.
I think it's to be expected, just the shock of this and the questions about what is ahead of us. I mean, how long is he going to be in custody? Is this an R. Kelly situation? Is he going to not get out for a number of years? Is he going to end up serving a long-term prison sentence from this? Or does he have a chance of beating these charges at a trial that could come, within the next 2 years?
Now enter Diddy. As one of the biggest names in music, he's built an empire, but he's also been surrounded by more than a few controversies himself. Over the years, whispers have floated around about his connection to several mysterious incidents, especially those involving younger celebrities who had crossed paths with him. When it came to Aaron, though, there was an added layer of intrigue because Aaron had gone on record expressing suspicions about people in the industry, and Diddy's name kept coming up. What if Aaron had information about Diddy that could threaten that empire? And what if those secrets were enough to put him in a vulnerable position?
Diddy would be throwing all his celebrity mates under the bus.
I mean, that could potentially be coming when it's time for court and when it's time for him to testify. But what we're seeing right now is how important public relations really are to Sean Combs. He's desperately trying to control the narrative behind bars, allowing his attorneys to do documentaries and TV.
Let's go back to some of Aaron's more cryptic messages. Those who knew him well pointed out that he often seemed paranoid and unsettled in the weeks before his passing. He was known to post videos where he'd talk about feeling unsafe, hinting that people were watching him, or waiting for him to slip up. Some close to him later shared that Aaron had been actively looking into various conspiracy theories tied to Hollywood, its major players, and their control over the lives of young stars. He wasn't just speculating idly. He seemed to be gathering information and trying to connect dots in a way that suggested he was working on something big, possibly even preparing to reveal it.
That boy's life is dangerous. His life isn't, he's just not dangerous with the they said he was doing, but he's in danger. He knows too much.
Reports later surfaced that the night before his passing, Aaron had been in contact with several people, though details were sparse. What's even stranger is that his phone was allegedly found in a location different from where he was. That might sound trivial, but anyone who's ever followed true crime cases knows that misplaced belongings can often be red flags. Aaron's close friends stated that he was attached to his phone, yet it was discovered outside his home. What was he trying to do? Where was he trying to go? And who else was aware of it?
I really put their hands on women really is people who have men who have feminine traits. So, it really takes a coward to put his hands on a woman. So, a man is so strong enough, we can just walk away. You can do, it's so many different things that you can do other than get upset, put your hands on a woman. But that comes from a man who's not quite a grown man.
Now, adding another layer to the story is the fact that federal investigators have reportedly taken an interest in Aaron's situation. Normally, cases like these would fade out after an official report, especially when they involve individuals who had faced personal struggles. But Aaron's case seems different. There's speculation that certain pieces of evidence have prompted authorities to look deeper to see if Aaron's passing was part of a broader picture involving individuals with significant influence. And yes, according to some reports, Diddy's name is on that list of people being looked into.
What his team is trying to do is get the public to assume that the government is leaking some of this negative information about him, like that Cassie video. But the reality is he's got a lot of enemies, and I really don't believe it's.
So what exactly could Aaron have known that might attract such attention? Some insiders claim that Aaron had been looking into stories that linked several high-profile figures in the entertainment industry to questionable practices. His apparent connection to West's narrative only fuels that speculation. He has openly discussed the idea of handlers in Hollywood, people who seemingly control artists, manage their reputations, and even dictate their personal lives in exchange for protection and opportunities. Aaron, who had his own run-ins with people in power, might have been seeking someone who understood his struggles and fears. And while West's story has its own twists and turns, it's not hard to imagine why Aaron might have reached out to him.
Right. Well, Kim Porter, that is Diddy's ex, who's also the mother of his 3 of his children.
Right.
Has detailed the alleged abuse that she suffered at his hands. Oh, no. And this is all in a memoir.
But here's where things take an even darker turn. As much as Aaron may have been trying to expose certain secrets, he was aware of the risks that came with speaking out. He even hinted to friends and family that he was receiving threats. According to some reports, he'd mentioned that he was concerned for his life, making cryptic statements like, "They're watching me," or "They don't want me to talk." It seemed that Aaron was aware of a silent but powerful force at play, one that could step in at any moment if he stepped out of line.
He was a good person. He had his demons, as we all do, I just wish he had another chance to defeat those demons, I'll say.
Carter began performing as a child and had hit albums started.
And this wasn't just paranoia. Aaron's loved ones described him as genuinely fearful, yet determined. He felt like he was finally piecing together a complex puzzle about the industry's dark side, and it seemed he was gearing up to do something about it. His loved ones even shared that Aaron believed he was on the verge of uncovering something major, something that might explain not only his own struggles, but also the way other stars were treated by those in power. He felt that he was close to revealing the truth, but in his words, they wouldn't allow it. If Diddy truly is under federal scrutiny for any connection to Aaron's case, it could be monumental. Aaron's story isn't just one of a struggling star. It represents something bigger, something that might have impacted the lives of other young, vulnerable celebrities who, like Aaron, had stories to tell but found themselves silenced. And if the rumors are true, Diddy's reach in the entertainment world is extensive enough to influence anyone who dares challenge him. For Aaron, knowing what he knew and planning to expose it may have been a brave decision, but it also may have come with heavy consequences.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, sexual assault, and rape at the hands of Diddy.
As we delve deeper into what Aaron's legacy means, questions naturally arise. Could his tragic story be part of a larger, more sinister network? If so, who else might be involved? And what else might be involved? And what else might surface if federal investigators truly begin unraveling these connections? And that's just the beginning of this rabbit hole. The story only deepens when we look at the broader implications, like the eerie parallels with other mysterious cases surrounding Diddy, cases that might not be as unrelated as they seem. Because Aaron's story, as troubling as it is, might just be the latest chapter in a much older and darker saga, one where secrets, influence, and silence intersect in ways that are impossible to ignore. And as we move forward, more chilling connections are bound to come to light. If you thought Aaron Carter's story was disturbing, just wait, because it's about to get even more twisted. This isn't just a tale of one star facing struggles. Aaron's tragic end has sent shockwaves, leading to whispers about Diddy's alleged connections to other mysterious cases. And we're not talking about just any names here. The allegations stretch across some of the most high-profile, unsolved celebrity cases in recent history, starting with none other than Shaker, an icon whose end remains one of the biggest mysteries in the music world.
It was all, insecurities. Anytime a man would go out his way to wiretap someone's phone or put taps in their homes just to monitor their conversation, that's a sign of insanity. So when you see someone doing that, you can imagine everything else.
So how did Shakur, one of rap's legendary figures, end up linked to Diddy? Well, the connections go way back to the infamous feud between two of the biggest music labels of the 1990s, Bad Boy Records, led by Diddy, and Death Row Records, run by Suge Knight. This rivalry wasn't just about music. It created a boiling tension that seemed destined to end in violence. Fast forward to the night of September 7, 1996 in Las Vegas, when Shakur was caught in a drive-by incident that would mark the end of an era. And for years, whispers have lingered about who was really behind it. Then, in a bombshell revelation, Dwayne Davis, a man deeply tied to the Southside Crips, a group known for protecting certain music industry figures, made a jaw-dropping claim. According to Davis, Diddy himself had once offered a substantial amount, reportedly around $1 million to see the end of Suge Knight and Shakur. Now, this isn't some wild accusation from a random person. Davis has been connected to the case for decades and even claims he was present during the shooting. In his statements, he revealed that Diddy had been willing to go to extreme lengths to take out what he saw as a major threat. And as the years went by, Davis doubled down on these claims, even as more pieces of the puzzle started to come to light. For instance, there's long been talk that Diddy and his team allegedly reached out to individuals within the Southside Crips, orchestrating protection and influence to stay a step ahead of their West Coast rivals. With this background, suddenly, the shadow around Diddy's empire grew darker. We're not just talking about accusations here. We're talking about what some say is a well-orchestrated network, one where Diddy's reach goes beyond music, encompassing relationships and arrangements that could send chills down anyone's spine. And it's not just fans who are raising eyebrows. People close to the case, those who were around during the heated days of Bad Boy and Death Row, have come forward over the years, hinting that there was always more to this story than what the public was told. With Davis now behind bars, people are wondering if he will eventually release even more details about what happened that night and the alleged role Diddy played. It's as if this decades-old mystery is finally being pulled from the shadows bit by bit.
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the shoe have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on side watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, He was like an overnight guest.
Now, while Shocker's story alone could fill a library of conspiracy theories, Diddy's name doesn't stop there. In 2018, tragedy struck Diddy's personal life when Kim Porter, his former partner and the mother of his children, was found at her home in Los Angeles. Officially, her passing was ruled as a natural event, attributed to respiratory complications. But for those who knew Kim well, the official explanation just didn't add up. Kim wasn't just another figure in Diddy's life. She was someone who had known him deeply for years. Someone who was said to have insights into his personal and professional worlds that few others could even guess at. And before her passing, rumors swirled that Kim had been planning something major, something that would finally give her the chance to share her own story with the world.
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
What story, you ask? Well, Kim reportedly had been working on a memoir, one that some sources claim could have included details about her time with Diddy that the mogul might not have wanted public. Family members and friends close to Kim have hinted that she was gathering the courage to reveal intimate details about Diddy's life, both the glamour and the darkness. They say she was ready to pull back the curtain on the kind of power he wielded over people around him, his relationships, and the industry itself. And then, just like that, she was gone. Diddy mourned publicly, of course, and released statements about his love and grief. But behind closed doors, many people close to Kim remain skeptical.
Saw no way out other than doing what he told her to do. He had mentally controlled her. It's like a pimp. Diddy had pimp potential. He had her mind messed up where it controlled her.
I'll Be Sure, the R&B artist and a longtime friend of Kim's, has been one of the loudest voices calling for a re-examination of her case. In various interviews, I'll Be Sure hinted that Kim's life had been under immense pressure and that her passing might not have been as natural as the reports claimed. He pointed out inconsistencies, like the speed of the investigation and the fact that key pieces of evidence weren't collected as thoroughly as they should have been. According to him, Kim knew things she'd told him in confidence about the challenges and fears she faced in her life. Some say that the memoir she was working on mysteriously disappeared or was heavily edited before any real progress could be made. It's as if her voice, one that could have revealed significant truths, was deliberately silenced.
So it's just another form to silence a man, to humble a person. You know how sometimes you got to humble somebody?
You're right.
Yeah, I think he's being humbled right now. Which it took a long time. It takes a long time to humble an arrogant person.
Imagine, for a moment, being in Kim's shoes. You've seen the glamour, the highs of the entertainment world, but you've also seen what lies beneath that surface. And maybe you know things you're not supposed to. Things that would damage not only reputations, but potentially whole careers. Could it be that Kim's story hit too close to home for certain people? And if it did, would they be willing to go to any lengths to keep it under wraps? Kim's passing left an enormous hole, not only in the lives of her loved ones, but also in the narrative of Diddy's life, a chapter that some feel will never be fully told.
That happened is Tupac's family is reportedly deciding to investigate the rumors that Diddy was involved in Tupac's murder.
For those who knew Kim Porter well, her demise wasn't the end of her story. It was only the beginning of countless questions that her friends and family say need answers. People close to her recall how she expressed unease about her life's direction in the months before her passing. Some say she even feared for her safety, especially as her memoir came closer to completion. Friends have shared that Kim wasn't afraid to pull back the curtain on Diddy's world, describing her writing as honest and incredibly revealing. They believed that her book might have shed light on the impact he'd had on her life, for better or worse. Did her eagerness to tell her truth make her a target? Many are left wondering what secrets she had that were worth hiding.
So he put his hands on females, put his hands on producers, executives. That's just his. I guess that's what the whole name Bad Boy comes from. That people don't really understand. What is it? What is a bad boy? Why did he choose that name? Like he never really gave a clear definition of how he feels about that name. Not yet.
And here's the twist. Kim's memoir reportedly went missing after her passing, with early drafts suddenly nowhere to be found. Although a version was eventually published, it had been heavily edited, with substantial parts that some claim were completely erased. Friends and insiders believe this wasn't a coincidence. According to them, certain chapters were said to expose details that could have caused damage to Diddy's carefully crafted public image. So, were these edits a standard revision process, or did someone ensure that the most dangerous parts of Kim's story never saw the light of day? This silence surrounding her memoir has only fueled public speculation that there's more to her story than what's on the pages. Adding to the intrigue is the fact that Kim's close friend, I'll Be Sure, hasn't been the only one questioning the official narrative. Even Kim's family, though initially hesitant to speak out, has expressed lingering doubts. Relatives have hinted that Kim was under immense pressure, almost as though she was carrying a burden she couldn't share. Their belief that she was planning a major reveal before her demise has led some to wonder if her story is connected to the experiences of others like Aaron, creating an eerie pattern that points back to the entertainment industry's powerful figures. So, how does this connect back to Aaron Carter? Well, consider the bigger picture. Multiple individuals with knowledge of Diddy's inner circle, all of whom had personal stories that hinted at an undercurrent of control, influence, and possibly even fear. Aaron wasn't the only one who seemed ready to speak his mind. Kim, too, was supposedly preparing to tell her story, only for both of their voices to be silenced before the world could hear them. And if there is a connection between their untimely ends, it's one that has federal investigators looking a lot more closely.
Done. This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly.
You said we are not done.
It's not just Shakur and Kim, either. Others within the industry have come forward with tales that hint at a pattern of influence, of carefully orchestrated alliances, and of a level of control that feels almost otherworldly. Insiders describe an environment where stars were often made to fall in line to keep up appearances, or if they didn't, to risk the consequences. They say Diddy's name comes up time and time again, almost like a ghost haunting the industry, an unspoken but understood presence that operates from behind the scenes.
Some people do think that Diddy can help him, but this guy's going to be locked up forever. His case will probably take at least 3 years to litigate. He'll stay at MDC. There's rumors that he wants to go to Essex County Jail in New Jersey because he doesn't like MDC. He's a Marshals inmate. There's no way they're going to transfer him back and forth, I don't know, several times a week.
And the federal interest. Well, according to some insiders, it isn't just about Aaron, Kim, or even Shakur. It's about whether there's a consistent thread running through all these stories, one that ties back to a system of protection, influence, and silencing tactics allegedly employed by certain powerful figures to keep their secrets safe. With Aaron's story fresh on everyone's minds, authorities seem more determined than ever to explore those connections and to see if a pattern emerges that could expose a much larger web of control within the entertainment world.
It's a question of that, but when you read through the indictment, it's pretty clear who could be indicted as a co-conspirator. Right now, there are people in the indictment who would be considered unnamed co-conspirators, but clearly have played a role in this conspiracy. And I think prosecutors have some big leverage on them because they're hoping that they testify against Diddy as prosecution witnesses.
Think about it. 3 different cases, each with its own tragedy, each with links back to Diddy, and it's no secret that the entertainment industry has its share of skeletons. Could these cases be a part of something much more complex? Are we looking at just the tip of an iceberg, where only the brave or the unlucky end up facing the consequences of getting too close to the truth?
So Puffy benefited more by Biggie not being here than Biggie being here.
For years, fans and conspiracy theorists alike have speculated that Hollywood operates with its own rules, a place where the usual laws don't apply, where the stakes are higher, and where the consequences of stepping out of line can be dire. And if Diddy, with his extensive reach and influence, is indeed part of such a network, it would explain a lot about how certain stories seem to fade away, how certain voices are never heard, and how certain people seem to live in constant fear of what they know. This story is far from over, with investigators reportedly digging deeper into these connections. There's no telling what other names might surface or what other secrets might finally come to light. The public is left waiting, wondering if they'll ever get the full truth about Aaron Carter, Shakur, Kim Porter, and the man who ties them all together. Seen Diddy Combs? Could this really be part of a larger strategy to keep people silent? And if so, who else might be involved in this hidden web of influence? This is just the beginning of what could be one of the entertainment world's most revealing sagas. The closer we get to uncovering the truth, the more questions arise. And as more people dig into the story, as more insiders hint at the secrets they know, the more it seems like we're on the edge of a revelation that could shake Hollywood to its core. After such a tangled and intense narrative, one has to wonder, was Aaron Carter's tragic ending truly an accident, or was it something far more sinister? And as for Diddy, could his influence be as far-reaching and shadowy as these stories suggest? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and tell us, do you believe there's a hidden network of control within Hollywood? Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more revelations, because this story is just heating up.